business news, analysis and opinion from the BBC. Talk Business, exclusively on Talk 100.3. Mamma Mia, because you are never alone on Talk 100.3.
Welcome to Mamma Mia with me, Muriel. Yes, it is 10:28 on the clock, and once again you're listening to me. Right now, I'm not alone. I am joined by Carmella Jodrell. Now, she holds a master's and bachelor's degree in education. She's actually served as a head teacher for a decade in a career spanning 3 decades of international education prior to moving to Dubai in 2016. Now, she's worked in UK, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Egypt, marking a lifelong love of learning. Carmella is currently completing, her doctorate with the University of Bath, and she has coached several teachers, parents, and students in both personal and professional development. Carmella Jodrell is the head of primary at the English College. Welcome to the show, Carmella.
Thank you, Muriel. You make me sound fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out and coming to the studios. First things first, I mean, head of primary, that's a huge responsibility. I mean, just the title itself is a huge responsibility. Would you agree?
It is a big responsibility, but I'm very fortunate and have always been fortunate to work as part of really strong teams, and the English College team is fantastic. So it is a big job, but it doesn't always feel like that. It's a shared load and a pleasure, everyday pleasure.
So let's talk to you a little bit about your career. How did you manage to get into the field of teaching?
Good question. I think probably it stemmed from the fact that I come from a very big family, 6 siblings, and I was the eldest daughter. And I guess looking after my siblings for so long and helping them, supporting them, educating them, it just led naturally into a teaching career. So that, I think, probably has been the starting point for me.
That's amazing. Now, you've been in the industry for quite a few years, right? If you're going to talk to me as to how the education sector has evolved in the past years, in the past decade even, would be really nice for us parents to kind of, take a note of a couple of things.
Well, I think all over the world it looks a little bit different, but if you're following a certain education, if you're following British education as we have at the English College, then you do know what you're getting, and that's fairly stable and consistent. The biggest change I think that we've all experienced is post-COVID and our use of technology and how well we can now flex to online learning should we need to. That also transfers over to parents on parents' evenings. Technology is there, and sometimes it really does help to make our life a lot easier. So that part of it, that organisational and logistical part of it, has changed since COVID. In Dubai, we're held to the framework, which is a really high standard for education for all schools, and the KHDA do have really high expectations. That framework guides us, and the KHDA supports us with that. So parents know that they go wherever they go in Dubai, whatever the rating of that school, 100% it's been stamp marked to be that. If it's a good school, then KHDA have approved it as a good school. And just to be a good school in Dubai, 50 to 60% of the children have to be achieving beyond the curriculum. That's a high expectation. Right. So I think depending on where you are in the world, we are moving in a world of technology, especially.
Again, you just said technology and you just used the term online learning. Now, as a young parent myself, I've always been baffled with this concept because, one side you have the doctors that say, get your child off the screen. And the other side, you have the schools and you have the institutes that say online learning is the way to go. Children as young as 5 years have been asked to bring iPads and come to school. And iPads, not anything else, not a tab, but an iPad to school. Because learning has now, it's kind of, there's a shift in gear as well towards learning. So as parents who are not from that era, I don't get it. I don't understand why, on a medical term, you would say a child is not allowed to have screen time. But on the educational front, it's okay if this child is seated across the computer, kind of doing his or her homework. I still don't get it.
I think it has to be a balance with all things. It's really important to get up and go outside and be in nature as well. But we can't avoid the fact that technology is there and it's everywhere. We can't avoid it. We do need to teach children responsibly how to use technology and how to manage their own screen time. Adults need to be careful with screen time. It's something we all need to be more mindful of. We use technology a lot in schools, but we try not to use it in the lower years. We have a bring your own device from year 3 upwards, and then we do provide the younger children with iPads if we feel they will support learning or benefit the children beyond what we might do naturally without the iPads. So they have to have a very good reason for using them, but there is so much available to children now to bring the real world at their fingertips without really having to go anywhere. So yes, I agree with you, we have to be careful, but we also have to manage that responsibly as parents as well as educators.
You know, this is amazing that you've said this at this time. Foundation learning is one of the most important stepping stone actually in a child's development, especially where education is concerned, right?
Yeah.
And then you move on to the primary school. Now, because of COVID, a lot of our kids could not make it to nurseries, could not make it to the foundation, could not get through the foundation years. And this became a daunting task for us parents as well, because when we took them to school, most of the children, they could not read, they could not write, but they had come of age. How important is it to set that right tone with your child to ensure that their foundations are solid enough before they get to the primary schools?
It's that word, it's the foundations, it's critical. We did notice that when children came back to us, we had some issues with confidence, self-esteem, communication and language skills, how to share.
Behaviour as well.
Behaviour was an issue. But then FS1, the very first step from 3 to 4, that's what the whole curriculum is designed to do, to help children with their communication and language and to set up those social skills. So you'll see a lot of play in FS1. By the time you get to FS2, you'll see more structure. And that's all about getting children's literacy and numeracy skills nice and strong, ready for year 1, so they go in there confidently. Because children who thrive are those children who get that head start, who get the support from home and also get the support from school, that strong phonics programme and numeracy.
So when you're talking about schools and when you're talking about parents going out there to select the right kind of school for your child, now not every time does our pocket allow us to do something like that. In a given situation, what should parents be looking at? What are the top 3 criteria that parents need to weigh in mind when we go out to find the right schools for our children?
I would say first of all, look at the values of the school. Do they align with your values as a family? Are they things that you think are the most important?
Is that important?
It's very important. We run everything according to our values. We live those values daily. You know, they take time to come up with our 5 values. It's not just something we pluck out of thin air. We work on that as a partnership with parents, with students, with staff. So the values are critical. Have a look on the website, find out what the values are, read up on the website, and then when you go to visit the school, does that translate to you as a parent? Can you feel it? When you've seen the children speaking on videos on the website, do you see that same level of confidence in the children and independence when you visit the school? Have a look in their books, look at the standards of work. Imagine your child as one of those children in that school. Is that something that you feel would be right for your child? And don't just go and look in the year group that your child is going to. Look at from foundation, go and have a look at all of the year groups in primary. Have a full tour. Talk to the head of school if you can. Find out a little bit more about what you feel your child needs, and would the school provide that for you? Not all children meet milestones at exactly the same time. Is that okay? Is there support available for my child should they not meet those milestones? What about my child's already exceeded milestones and my child is more advanced in an area of the curriculum? What can you do for them? Is there a more able and talented programme that will extend them? Really think about your children and what there is to meet their specific needs.
Are we seeing a massive shift post-COVID-19? I mean, with the way we teach our children, with the way we raise our kids as well, especially in your school? I mean, are you seeing a shift in, how parents deal with their children?
No. I feel like we've returned to a pre-COVID community. We don't see parents in school as much as we would like to, and I think that's been a bit of an impact of COVID. But that's okay, because we found other ways to reach parents through recording sessions, sending them home, making things available to them, because not all of our parents have the time to come in. They're working hard. So we this is something that's been a benefit of COVID. We're very tech savvy. We've found finding ways to reach people. But I think we have returned to a pre-COVID community.
Right. So I'm going to take you back in time. I mean, maybe, I don't know, 30 years.
Okay.
Alright.
Blinking, you missed that.
Back then, learning was all about it being theory based. Right now, we've moved past that. Now we're trying to teach our children life skills. Not all schools do that, but I'm sure your school does it. So, how do you kind of educate your children? How do you educate them where financial literacy is concerned? How do you kind of, because I remember we were having a chat and you spoke something that was so amazing and it caught my attention. So what do you do with your little ones? How do you help them be more independent in today's world?
Yeah, it is difficult, and education has changed from those 30 years ago where it's all very theory and book, textbook driven. No, it's far more practical, to be very honest with you. We have a lot of real world learning going on, a lot of inquiry based learning where the children are given problems to solve with other children, so it's a collaborative approach. So I was giving you the example earlier of the party.
Right.
So we saw this, we have pods at the English College, which is where there's a central area where the classrooms come off. And within those pods, we have inquiry-based learning. And it looks fantastic when it's down with year one and they've got it set as a castle and a dungeon and the children are heavily engaged in role play. By the time we get to year four, it becomes a little bit more academic, I suppose, but it's still very inquiry-based. So they had party planners. Children had a fictitious, a nominal amount of money. So you've got 2,000 dirhams and you've got to plan a party for 25 children and the theme is this. And then we give them the websites, we give them the information, and then they have to develop their own tools for working it out with friends. It's a team project. That kind of thing is challenging and fun, and that's what we try to make sure that the children get the opportunity to do. Learn through those real fun, challenging experiences when we can, as much as we possibly can.
This is amazing. We will continue our conversation with her, but before we do that, before we have, proceed with the conversation with Carmella, now I want to ask all you parents, if you have anything that is weighing you down where your child's education is concerned. You have Carmella Jodrell, the head of primary at the English College, this institute. She's sitting right in my studios. Kuch bhi puchna hai. Now is the time that you pick up the phone. 800-881-0003. Now, if you want to stay anonymous, I'm okay with that. 05-8686-1003. When I get back, we will try and answer all your questions, but make sure that you send them quick enough. 5 a.m. on the clock. I'm still joined by Carmella Jodrell, head of primary at the English College. And because she's in our studios, I have to ask, you deal with the little ones, right? What is the most difficult part of your job? I know it's easy, but what's the most difficult part of your job?
Well, okay. That's a great question. There are some tricky parts. Do you know what it actually is? I think the most challenging part of my job is when we have to have conversations with parents because there's an issue with their child and we're not on the same page. So that can be really challenging. We try really hard to make sure that children get everything that they need to make progress and to thrive at school, and sometimes they don't. And it's those conversations that can be quite challenging. They're fine when parents say, yeah, you know what, I see that as well at home, I notice that, let's work together. And when we work together, that's when magic happens for children. But when we're not on the same page, that can be challenging. Sometimes it's a journey for that parent and we have to work with them.
I think most of the times it is that we get into our denial mode, right? I mean, you tell me something is wrong with me, maybe I would be at a phase in my life that I want to recorrect myself. But if you tell me something is wrong with my child, I have my armor on and I'm ready to fight the battle.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And this comes purely as a concern from parents, because we don't want to be told that something is wrong with our child, right? Even if we know that something is wrong, we can go to several doctors, we can be told to go to several counselors, but we don't. Why? Is because we still live in that denial mode. When I'm sure you would have encountered parents like these as well. How do you get past these conversations? How do you break it to a parent? How do you break someone's heart and tell them that yes, you need to be mending it the right way, you need to be headed in this direction?
I think you just have to be really honest and gentle in your approach. I'm a parent as well, and I have a child. He's 19 now. He's not really a child, but I knew when he was very little that he was probably dyslexic. But being a teacher, I came at it at a different angle. I knew before the teachers told me that there was a barrier there, and that's a bit different. But it was still hard because I knew that he'd be having to manage that for his whole life, and he's done brilliantly with it. He's done absolutely brilliantly with it. But we've pushed him, we've championed for our children, and that's the thing, is we just want the very best for them. They're never going to be perfect. No child is, but I think if we get the very best and we champion that for our children, then we can do no more. But when we work together with a school, that is the absolute best scenario. Honestly, we can perform wonders in that way.
So tell me something. If a parent comes to you and says that, look at child A, this child is better than my child, and why is my child not writing, or why is my child not doing the other things that the other children in the class do, and the constant comparison.
Yeah.
Okay, this kind of, firstly, it doesn't only weigh the child down, it also weighs us as a parent, because then you feel you don't feel valued, you don't feel that you're a part of that race. How do you kind of
I know, you're right.
weigh these?
All children develop at a different rate, 100%. Okay, there's some of them hit the milestones exactly, and some of them don't, but they all catch up with each other. They really do. It just takes time. I think if you're in a school where the teachers are really responsive to the children's needs and can differentiate, they'll all make great progress by the end of the year. That's our job as teachers. We need to know where the children are at, what they need next, so that they reach the goals at the end of the year. And if you've got some really talented teachers, they will get there. And I think in the earlier years, when they're very young, 3 to 5, that age group, they really do rapidly make progress. But not all children want to pick up a pen and write immediately.
So is that only for a boy, or is that for a girl as well? I mean,
It can be for both. It's
Okay.
more common for boys. We do see it's very common to see boys making that progress a little bit later. But there are some very clever ways that you can go about this. So at the beginning of this year, for example, I teach in FS2. I do a nice art club there, and we noticed that some boys did not enjoy picking up a pen, even just to have a go at art, until we started giving them opportunities to draw things like dinosaurs and trucks and birds of prey, things that they thought were really cool. And we use websites as well, with things like Art for Kids Hub, which is fantastic. It goes step by step, and it's designed for very young children and very old children, so you can, at your level, find the right pitch for artwork. And now what we see is those children who are creating those pieces of artwork are fabulous at it in FS2, really, really careful. They're signing their name because they're so proud of it, and they're taking them home every week to show to their parents. I think you just have to find the right way, and a lot of that comes through the activities that happen in an early years classroom, things like Play-Doh, playing with Lego, playing with Duplo, digging in the garden, making mud pies. All of that helps to develop the fine motor skills that boys and girls need to be able to sustain writing. They get there by the time they enter year 1, they are ready to go. But we also have to remember that those early years are all about play and discovery, communication and language, and social skills. That's the priority there, so that children go into year 1 ready to learn. So even if they haven't caught all of those skills, they will get them in year 1.
Wow. And most of we parents, are of the working class. Like, we have a 9-to-5 jobs, and absolutely with the traffic and everything, we're left with very little time to sit down with our little ones.
Sure.
And kind of take them through their day's schedule. There are days that we don't even get to talk to them, because by the time we get home, they're already in bed, right? And we beat ourselves to death. We're guilty of it, and I do understand foundation years, you expect that the parents' involvement with the child's upbringing is a lot more. So how do you make, how to get the two on the same page to ensure that the parents are spending the right amount of time with the children? So the English college, do you all have special classes? Do you all have, do you all have day outs, activities? What do you all do to ensure that you're building that kind of a bond with the parent-child?
Yeah, that's a lovely question. We do have a lot of parental engagement sessions, and we also have a fantastic ECPC, which is a parent committee, who put on an awful lot of events for the community. But actually we have weekly assemblies where parents are invited to come in and join in that celebration of children receiving awards each week. We have a lot of parent conferences, and that can be face-to-face or online, to meet the parents' schedules and needs as well. We have parent engagement sessions which are more academically based or well-being based for their children, to give them tips and tricks for things that they can do at home. And we also have a lot of parent helpers who, they've got a bit of time on their hands and they volunteer to come into school. So there's lots of ways that we can engage parents. and that we do engage parents. Can I pass on some wonderful advice that I was given years ago by a psychologist, and she was Dr. Amira, absolutely brilliant, in Egypt, and she said, if you can 3 times a week spend 20 minutes with your child,
Okay.
just 20 minutes, and it's their time. You give the theme to your child, and they can choose what you do for that 20 minutes. You will have managed their well-being, and that's just as important as feeding them, as them catching enough sleep, as them doing exercise. It's part of their growth and development. And then she said, try to ask your children 3 questions before they sleep every night. What did you learn today? What made you laugh today? And what made you sad today?
So what did you learn today?
Yep.
What made you laugh today?
Yep.
And what made you sad today?
Yep.
Oh, it's exciting.
And they're lovely questions to ask your child, to get them to reflect on their day and to put the day to rest before they sleep. And they've had their little moment with you. It might only take you 2 minutes, but they're 2 very special minutes for your child. And they're part of a routine that help them to settle the day.
This is amazing. You know, I love what you just spoke, and I wish someone had spoken to me and knocked some sense into me a little while ago. Maybe things would have been different. And obviously the battle and the struggle of a young mum is always going to continue. So now talk to me about the initiatives that the English College is doing. You've started something called as the Curious Cub.
Curious Cubs is our sort of rebranding of the early years, and that's a very special place at the English College. And I think if parents are interested to come and have a look, we are having an open day coming up on the 2nd of March. It's a Saturday open day, so everyone should be free to pop in and really see our Curious Cubs in action. It's lovely. That starts at 10 o'clock on the 2nd of March. It's just a lovely place. We have a small early years. It's not very big. We have a maximum of 5 classes there. So we keep that culture really nicely child focused, and we develop independent learning. There's a lot of fun that happens down in the Curious Cubs, and our children, when they finish early years at the end of FS2, they have their standards are probably 20% above a UK child leaving a UK school at the same age. That's how impactful our early years is at EC. It's wonderful. So I definitely recommend coming to have a little look around Curious Cubs. Curiosity, investigation, discovery, that's what it's all about in our early years. Children being really independent in their learning, having a go, telling us what they're interested in. I mean, it's not unusual to go down there and find children prodding at some fish that we've got from the fish market because they've been doing the rainbow fish and working out how many tentacles they can find on a squid. And you know, the teachers are fabulous at making those experiences real for the children, so they do feel very special. It's wonderful. Yes.
You know, you did mention to me, Carmella, that the fact that you have something called as a child's well-being, I believe, where you get a pet to school and you let them play with the pet.
We do. We have a couple
So you
of
have a
pets
pet
at school.
zoo in school?
Oh, I wish. No, we have 2 pets. We have Sammy the tortoise.
Ooh.
Yep, and you will find that tortoise wandering around school after, when the children have gone home, just stretching his legs, having a nice time. The children feed him, and they go and talk to him, and they watch him and play with him. But we also have a wellbeing dog. Ziggy is our wellbeing dog. He's been working in schools for 4 years now, and he's a wonderful asset to have in a school for children who are having a wellbeing moment. They need to talk, but they can't quite find the words, or they are missing home, or they're just sad, not having a good day. Well,
how does this really help now, Carmella?
I think he soothes them. So he's a very calm dog. He knows loads of tricks. If he can hear the command clearly, he will roll over, shake paw, high five, turn around. He'll weave in and out of your legs. Like he's really good, and he's calm and he's small, so he doesn't dominate children. He's hypoallergenic, which is really good. He doesn't shed any fur, so even children who are a little bit allergic to pets, they don't suffer. And he comes in a couple of days a week, and then what will happen is teachers will book him, and one of his handlers will take Ziggy to the classroom, and children will get an opportunity to spend time with Ziggy, ask him to do some tricks. And I think what they love is that he's always the same. He's a very consistent creature in their lives. He's calm, he's fun, he's silly, he's cute.
Aww.
So there's all of that going, and they absolutely love him. And not all children can have pets at home.
Right.
Like you said, a lot of us are working long hours. It's hard to manage that. So if you can get a wellbeing dog into a school, it means an awful lot to so many children. Not just children, a lot of our staff come and find Ziggy when they just need a little bit of downtime. a little bit of grounding through the day. They just come and it's not unusual to find people down on the floor having a little snuggle with him, chatting to him and stroking his fur or giving his fur a brush. It's soothing.
You know, we're running out of time, but I have one last question to ask you, Carmella.
Go for it.
As the head of primary at the English College School, now I want to ask you, how important is mental well-being for your staff as well? Because teachers, they're the ones who are, handling our children, they're looking after our kids. How important is their mental well-being?
One of my roles is definitely to look at that and to make sure that if I want teachers to ensure that the children are happy in class, I've got to look after the teachers as well first. We've got to make sure they are well and they are happy. That can be a challenge. They're away from home, most of these teachers. They're not surrounded by a network of family and friends. That has to start from scratch if they've come from the UK. So it's really important. Now we have a wellbeing programme at school. We have a wellbeing team. And we have a staff wellbeing counsellor. Our school counsellor is also in charge of staff wellbeing, and she does a phenomenal job of celebrating staff. So there's a lot of celebration that goes on, there's a lot of teamwork that happens. This morning I was having a conversation with somebody who was finishing her probationary period, and I said, what would you like, how's it been for you, has it been okay? She said, yeah, it's been great, this is probably the school that has the best staff wellbeing I've ever worked in. And I asked her why she thought that was the case, and she said it's because everybody works as a unit, as a team, and she sees that that's consistent across the school.
Right, this is amazing, Carmella. We wish you all the very best to you and your future endeavors. Thank you very much for taking time out and coming to our studios, educating us, kind of opening our eyes, to so many ideas, to so many concepts, and to so many conversations. Keep coming to our studios. We really would love to have more conversations.
I'd love to come back. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Muriel.
You're more than welcome. And for all of you, yes, this is Mamma Mia with me, Muriel. I'll catch you tomorrow on this very show. Before that, I'll catch you on the morning show, Daybreak with Vivek Sanan and myself, Muriel D'sa, at 7 a.m. on the dot. Make sure you're listening in. Until the next time, I'm saying take very, very good care of yourselves. And yes, it is ciao for now.